Check 1, 2. Hello there. Good afternoon. It is Thursday, January 30th. I am Rob, thatDeveloperDad, and we're working with C# and .NET. Now, I've built an application that virtually rolls some dice and generates like common everyday townsfolk that my players in my D&D game might meet, so that I've got at least some idea seeds for how to run those role-play experiences. And I'm turning it into a product that will be for sale as a subscription web application kind of thing. And yesterday I spent the streams tidying up some code, and I noticed that I've actually got an issue in my storage layer around the ID for the individual NPCs. Right now it's an integer, which isn't a great choice because I'm using AzureTables storage for it, and I really would prefer to be using a GUID here. But the entire application is written around using that ID as if it's an integer. So I need to change that. And this morning I made a plan and all kinds of notes and everything like that. And I think what I want to do is set this up as a let's just start knocking out this process. Hey, what's up, Mischief the Cat? So I will pull up my main screen. Now, for sanity's sake, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of the UI. And I think what I'll do here is come into my resource access. Oh, right on. Oh, you're setting it all up on your own hardware or AWS cloud hardware type stuff? I think what I'm going to do, okay, right on. Beware that streaming out of cloud services and so on is going to have some hefty egress fees. I expect those to be daunting, is the best way I can put it. So originally, and I wrote my notes and stuff about doing this change in place. Oh, okay, well, cool. It's not something I've done before because I see the price tags and I get scared away, honestly. Rather than making these changes in place, I think what I'm going to do is create a new folder and call it V1, because so far we've been at V0. There we go. And I'm going to take these 4 files. I'm going to have to reveal this in the Finder. Reveal in Finder. Here we are. Here's the Finder over here. I'm going to say highlight, copy, and paste. There we go. And let's take a peek over here. I'm going to have some naming conflicts. That's okay. And what we'll do is we'll come into each of these files, NPCAccess.v1, save, .v1, .v1, and up here in the namespace, .v1. Save. All across the board. NPCAccess. V1. Cool. And let's take a look over here. Now, I'm not going to do this versioning throughout the entire stack. I'm just going to do this in the resource access component. So, NPCAccess. Got to alter the signature of load NPC. And it's going to become a GUID. All right. NPCAccess filter. Don't have to do anything here. NPCAccess filter result. Well, we got to make this a GUID. And we got to make this a GUID. All right. This, and instead of passing the default value for integer, I'm going to pass GUID.new GUID. Save. And then, of course, the NPCAccess model. We're going to say GUID is that. I'm going to need to assign it. NPCID equals GUID.new GUID. Not GUID.empty.new GUID. Silly Copilot. Save. All right, we've got the goodies. Down here in the AzureTables, I am going to do a very similar thing. So let's open this guy in, well, first we'll add new folder, v1, lowercase v, okay? And then we'll come over here in the Finder, and I'm going to grab the dependency builder. No, not yet. NPCAccess table provider, storage models and transformers. Copy these guys, paste them in here. All right, back to VS Code. Close that because it's the standard one. We can close this down. Close these two folders and come into the V1 namespace. Using and I want to go .v1 .v1, and we're going to set this as .v1. And let's do the storage model and transformers classes right now. And it's AzureTables.v1. Save. And it looks like we don't need these guys. They can go away. Save. Model extensions. We can zap all of those. .v1 and .v1. Save that. This is my v1. It is. Good. And we'll come down here to the Azure Table Provider. It's already been renamespaced. Good. NPCAccess. I feel like I've got the implicit usings enabled, and we need to disable those right the F now. Now this is going to give us a whole pile of compiler errors. Oh yes, we have. Now, are we good out here? Oh no, we're not. Okay. NPCAccess. Do we have? Yeah. Let's fix this up. Yep. Save. All right. First things first. Let's bounce all of this stuff out of here. And we'll reopen NPCAccess. First thing I got to do is come in here and using system.threading.tasks. That'll take care of that. System collections generic. Great. Okay, and it put things in alphabetical order for me. And this guy is now happy. Save. Let's do access filter. Looks like we don't need anything but system. In fact, we don't even need system here. Save. Access filter. Get rid of all of them using statements. We don't need them because these are .NET primitives built into the CLR. Access model. Game tools, NPCAccess. Yep, unversioned. We're good. All right. Let's pop up into NPCAccess. We need using system.collections.generic using system.threading.tasks. And that should solve almost all of the problems down here. Oh, we got to bring in the system namespace using system, because that's where GUID is declared. Cool, cool. Let's take a look at the access filter. I think the only thing we need here, well, is nothing. So we can 86 that. Filter result. We're definitely going to need system. Boop. Save. And the access model, we need to import system. And I think that's all we need to make this file happy. Great. Can we build this assembly? It's just building that one project, and it looks like everything's good there. Cool. Let's go to our implementation project. And we're going to build this guy. And you know what? While we're here, oh yeah, we've got all kinds of errors. NPCAccess. We got to say using gametools.NPCAccess. What's this complaining about? Save NPCAccess model. Oh yeah, I feel like we've probably got all kinds of problems in here. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, all right. Using system, because we're referencing GUID, using system.collections.generic, using system.threading.tasks, and that fixed up the broken interface. Let's just skim down here, get down to the next error. Here we go. First or default, that's from system.link. We're going to need to deal with that in a minute. These two are from system.link. And I think that's the last missing thing. So let's bring in using system.link. Save. And our original NPCAccess Azure table provider is back to compiling correctly. Excuse me. And I can probably get rid of that using statement because it's backtracing through this namespace to the earlier ones. Let's take a look at dependency builder. Nice service collection. Yeah. Okay. Probably take out core extensions. Let's move system up top. And I don't think I need those. Save. I think that's in a pretty good spot. Let's take a look at our problems list. Yeah, Azure Table Provider is pretty bust. Okay, that's V1. This is V1. I'm looking for problems in existing files first. Storage models, let's take a peek. All right. I'm going to move system up top. And let's just spin down here. There we go. Table entity. Okay. And we're good. And then finally, we'll look in the transformers. I don't think we need any of these. Save. Yeah, we're able to backtrace through everything. All right. Now, we're still not going to be able to build yet. That's okay. Let's fix up NPC table entity first. And this will be the V1 table entity. Shrink that down. And let's see the table entity time, the timestamp property. Okay, and that's because we're missing system. Now, X, V, using system. See how many things that cleans up. Looks like it cleaned up just about everything. Row key equals string.empty. That's a string. And this is where I am going to take NpcId from being an int to being a GUID. Now, in another spot, I've got patterns. Let's take a look at token consumption entity over here. Here we go. Partition key is the user ID, row key, timestamp, all of that stuff. Okay. So I'm going to want to do something very similar over here. Let's take a look at the user entity. Because over here I'm using user ID, it's a string. The row key, I believe, is a string, but it's a GUID, row key dummy. So these are both strings. String user ID, install Windows on Linode, but it isn't supported. Oof. Wow. What's Linode use? Virtual machines? All right, so when it reads the row key, get NpcId dot to string set. We're going to have to expand this property declaration. And because I'm going to have to use a bodied property here, return. We're going to use a full old school formalized property declaration here. GUID parsed equals that's not what I wanted to do. I want to make it a question mark. Equals null. Parsed equals, and we're not going to do, well, yeah, we will. And I'm going to say NpcId equals the parsed GUID. Else, Okay, so if we are able to parse, try to parse the incoming value as a GUID. Now, if it's empty, we're going to assign. GUID ID to set. If parsed GUID equals GUID.empty, ID to set as a new GUID. Otherwise, we're going to use the parsed GUID, and then we're going to say ID to set. I'm going to hoist this, well, not hoist it, but we're going to move it up to the main function scope rather than, okay, so ID to set may be unassigned. So we have to handle it down here. ID to set equals new GUID. Okay, so when we read in from AzureTables, it's going to try to parse that row key value as a GUID because it's going to arrive as a string. If it can successfully do so, it's going to assign it as the NPCID. If it cannot successfully assign it, or if it's empty, it's going to generate a new value and assign that as the NPCID. Excuse me. Row key will take its value from the NPCID, which is set upstream. Now, I need to do a little bit of magic in here and say value NPCID equals value, I'm going to surround this with parens, equals GUID.empty. If true, then GUID.newGUID, else value. And I can 86 this. There we go. I'm not using field keyword. What are you even doing here? Private GUID. We're going to have to use a backing property. GUID.empty. Return NPCID. Cut that, paste it back, underscore NPCID equals. There we go. Now, because I'm using an actual body property format at this point, I don't like ternary operators in code. Because this, if I'm scanning quickly, is going to be kind of tricky for me to read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refactor it to be a little bit more verbose, take up a little bit more space, but be more immediately apparent what it does without me having to really stop and analyze what's going on. If value equals GUID.empty, NPCID equals GUID.new GUID, else NPCID equals value. And there we go. This feels a million times more readable. And I'm just going to collapse this property. There we go. All right. And then the row key, of course, just converts that to and from that GUID value. I dig it. And we can save this guy. Now, let's take a look at the compiler errors in V1 of the NPCAccess.AzureTables, the Azure Table provider. Does not implement. It's probably expecting a GUID. But before we do this, let's do this. Using system.collections.generic, using system.link, and using system.threading.tasks. And here we've just turned all of our compiler warnings into type problems. So all we're going to do, NPCAccess filter results. I need to come up here. Storage models, transformers, using GameTools.NPCAccess.v1. So there's that. NPCAccess filter result. I should probably v1 equals. So we're going to alias this namespace. NPC Azure, blah, blah, blah. v1 dot INPCAccess. GameTools.NPCAccess.v1 dot that. Now, what are you complaining about? get rid of that. Azure Table Provider. Okay. Let's put this back up in here. Dot. And I'll do a v1 dot. Now, NPCAccess filter result, of course it doesn't exist in that namespace. So I'm going to have to go NPCAccess dot no I really wish it had stopped trying to do that. NPCAccess dot v1. There's that. Op result. I've got to be explicit here. Okay. Paste that in here. Okie dokie. Table service client, none of this stuff changes. User object client. That's been updated. Paste that in here. I really don't like having to do this stuff. But whatever. Good. The op result is explicit. There's that. Okay, it's got the right thing there. Stored NPC, where are you? Okay, so I'm going to have to come into get out of metered usage access, pop into V1, NPC table entity, you're all fixed up. Come into model extensions and say v1 dot access model. Nope. Paste it here. Paste that. Oops. That is correct. Put the namespace correction on there. And I bet I can come up here and say using GameTools.NPCAccess.v1 dot and can I take this away now? Nope. All right. So the namespace versioning didn't quite work out as well as I hoped it would. That's using a V1. That's good. Let's come back here. That all looks pretty okay. That is a V1. That's a V1. Task op result. Oh. T is int. Save NPC. Oh, yeah. Son of a gun. I'm going to pop in here, change the return type on save NPC to a GUID. And over here, we're going to change this to a GUID. Change that to a GUID. This becomes a GUID. That gets the V1 annotation. Table entity is still correct. Excuse me. NPC table entity. This will never be null. NPCID will never have a false value. This will always be true. What's this trying to do? This is saving. Okay. So what we'll do So we'll try and hit the table right off the top. There's that. If the entity is null, we're going to do stuff. We filter NPCs. User NPCs, payload, any. This is getting a new integral value to apply to the incoming NPC. We can get rid of that. Entity equals new, blah, blah, blah. Get out of here. Entity.rowKey equals NPCID. Actually, we could just not even assign that. I'm going to undo this. And what I'm going to do is comment it out with a comment. We're assigning row key internally within the storage model. No need to do that here. Leaving this for future maze reference. Okay, datetime.utc now. Create a date. Upsert entity async. Result.payload. Entity.NPCID. Entity.NPCID. Here's all the things. Op result, we're good. Here's building the table client, base table name. Let's go to the definition. V1. Yeah, I'll use an underscore for that. User ID is required to save an NPC. And we're just checking stuff. Checking and checking, checking and checking. Okie dokie. Save. And let's rebuild our abstractions. That's what's in the root NPCAccess namespace and project. We'll rebuild our Azure Table Provider implementation. Okay. Let's checkpoint this. Now let's see what Copilot comes up with as far as our comment. Add NPCAccess models and filters. That is not accurate. Add new version of NPCAccess models and behaviors using a GUID instead of an int for the NPCID property. And we're going to commit, and we're going to publish the branch. And we can see that there are No problems. It doesn't do anything yet. Between now and tomorrow, because I'm coming close to the end of my scheduled time here, what I'm going to do is pop out here, go to my code folder, and let's just right click down here and add a new folder. TDMF utilities. And inside here, NPC data table migrator. And inside here, new terminal folder, .NET new console, excuse me, NPC object migration. Pow. Duh. -N. I'm not going to put this in GitHub or anything like that. And I'm just using this as a place to store this project. Quick actions, open in VS Code. Here we go. And let's pop this open. Program. And here's what I'm going to do in here. Step 1. Query all NPCs from AzureTables storage. Step 2. For each NPC, convert it from the null to v1 instance, setting a new GUID as the NPCID. Step 3, insert the updated object into the v1 table. Step 4, verify that the data has been mapped. We might need some extra goo in here. We probably will need some extra goo because that NPC ID is buried in the JSON. So don't forget to update the ID value that's in the serialized NPC data. This will likely be goofy AF. Setting NPCID to the parsed value for row key. That's what I want to do. Yeah, that's definitely what I want to do. In fact, I bet I could read the V1 stuff out of the existing table and have it mostly in the right format to be rewritten back to the V1, the new V1 table. I'm going to experiment with that. I'm going to do this stuff offline because it's going to involve having secret connection strings and all that other crap up on screen. And there'll probably be a decent amount of head scratching involved. So I'm just going to do this migration on my own. But then what I'll do, or what I'll try to remember to do, is make notes and then cleanse out the secrets from this code base and talk through what I did to make this happen tomorrow. I'm also going to need to make copies of the assemblies that I'm using to bring things over. Now, before I forget, I'm going to pop this guy open, make it .NET 8, get rid of these darn implicit usings. Save it. Can we build? Program CS. Oh, yeah. Using system. There we go. And let's just run it to make it go. Yeah, use C#. Yep. I should see a hello world. Groovy. And I'll get out of my folder view and into my Solution Explorer view, because I got brains. They don't work so well all the time, but I got some brains. There we go. We're in a .NET 8 thing, so I'm not going to have any kind of problems with whatever. And yeah, this has been a pretty good stream. I was able to effectively version my access control, or my access component. And now I just got to migrate the data. And then tomorrow, I'll set up the migration to, or I'll make the changes down through the stack. So cool. Until then, take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you as best you're able. And happy coding. Bye now.